You made it. Excellent. I'm so happy you're here. I love your costume. Oh, it will be a small affair, nothing big. Just me and you and 2 other guests, really. But I got us a very, very great surprise. I had to pre-order it, actually. Oh, my hat. Yes, do you like it? It is a little, Lady Demetrius. Just a tad. And she's a very formidable woman. Very tall. I'll be right back.
Happy Halloween! I'm Miss Pumpkin. So nice to meet you. Oh, I also brought some candy. Well, who needs a bag when you have a pumpkin far ahead? What else is in there? I'll never tell.
Happy Halloween, Flushes.
Skullflower doesn't have a name yet, not a proper one anyway. I was supposed to do that.
Yes, what did happen to that?
Now that everyone is here, we can get started. Yes!
What's the entertainment anyway?
It's called the Haunted Advent Halloween Calendar, and I have the operating manual right here. Thank you for purchasing the super fantastic, ultra amazing Haunted House Advent Calendar. How to operate. Knock on the front door 3 times and 3 times only. You must start with door number 15 for a safety warning. Then proceed to any door you wish. If you open all the doors and see what's inside, a surprise will come to you. Happy Halloween from the Acme Halloween Engineers. Wow, I can't wait to see what's in all the doors.
Doesn't that sound exciting? Well, let's begin.
Hi there! This is your Halloween public service announcement. Remember to follow the rules of Halloween, and you'll stay safe and alive. Rule number 1, don't have sex, especially not in the childhood home of an infamous murderer. Rule number 2, don't have a seance in an abandoned funeral home on Halloween night. Rule number 3, don't stay in an infamously haunted house for research. Rule number 4, make sure that costume is safe. We wouldn't want you to combust while trick-or-treating. Rule number 5, always check your Halloween candy. And rule number 6, always keep that jack-o'-lantern lit. Halloween can be safe and fun and easy if you follow the rules. Happy Halloween!
Hi there, it's Lydia from Typical Books, here to wish you an ooky spooky Halloween. Thank you to Merce for having all of us amazing booktubers here to spread some horrific cheer on this most wonderful time of year. Yes, I'm talking in rhyme a little bit. I'm going to do a bit of a reading. This is just a stand-in book, a book of American typefaces from the 20s, but I'm reading something from the 20s. It's available on archive.org. It is the Denison Manufacturing Bogey Book. And it is a book with Halloween and Thanksgiving decoration and party ideas. When I was little, from time to time at school or fairs, or sometimes the parents would get together to entertain us kids with apple bobbing and some traditional Halloween party things like ghost storytelling and stuff like that. Nothing quite like this, although I did put my hand in a bowl of peeled grapes that I was told were eyeballs, and a cold spaghetti bowl that I was told were innards. I was never clear on what this story was supposed to be, except that there was ice cubes and peeled grapes and cold spaghetti involved. But the Bogey Book gives us a ghost story that goes along with this particular haunt, although it's a little more involved. You're supposed to have the people do what you say, fall to their knees and close their eyes, and have an assistant to do things like put their hands around their throat or hand them a skeleton's arm or a hangman's noose. Nothing more fun than a little gallows humor on Halloween, I say. So, from the 1920s Denison's Bogey Book, here is a ghost story. Here is a story, believe it or no. It happened to me, and I know it is so. The scene of the tale is a graveyard at night. So chilly, so damp, and not one bit of light. To show you what happened, pretend I am you, then you take my place, and what I did you do. As I tell the story, do not be alarmed, but do as I did, and you shall not be harmed. When I first sat down, it was sunny and bright. Then I closed my eyes and awoke in the night. The night was jet black, not a thing I could see, and yet I heard voices quite close about me. I listened in terror, then fell to my knees. My hands I clasped tightly, blood ready to freeze. For they were the voices of spirits so close, and one in particular, loud and morose. I am the ghost of a murderer, he said quite clear. I crave human company, and now it is here. For years in this graveyard I've ruled, if you please, and claim what I find here among the old trees. Your mine, came his shout, a heart-rending shrill note, and cold, bony hands took a grip on my throat. The grip seemed to loosen, then tighten with zest. I sat terror-stricken, afraid to protest. Perhaps I can teach you some lessons, he moaned. I'll show you my victims. Oh joy, how they groaned. Then he led me away with his dry, bony hand to tomb after tomb till I could hardly stand. My first is the Iceman. I killed the old crook. He has no ice now, but is here with his hook. Next is the Coal Man I murdered with glee. His heart a hard lump of coal, you can see. I throttled this radio bug, for he'd tell of getting long distance. At last he got hell. This poor boob once showed me the hooch on his shelf. I strung him up and drank it myself. I warned this fast driver, but he wouldn't heed, so I just stabbed him. The hearse didn't speed. He tried to insure my life, how he did talk. I pulled off his talking arm, that killed the gawk. Miss Flapper-de-Jazz danced her fool self to death, and still she keeps dancing without any breath. If you find yourself all of a sudden having a Halloween party this year or any year and want to amp up your cold leftovers from your fridge as far as a Halloween spook show, then this poem might suffice. And I really recommend checking out archive.org to read the full old 1920s Denison's Bogey Book. Thank you again to Merce for having everyone here at Harpies in the Trees for an ooky, spooky Halloween.
I am the ghost of Longshore, the haunted vintage horror bookstore. Thank you, Mers, for summoning me this Halloween. Woo! Tonight, I'm gonna take you on a haunted horror bookshelf tour. Follow me. This is my favorite shelf. The Zebra Horror Bookshelf. This is also my favorite bookshelf. This is the Tor bookshelf. This is my other favorite bookshelf. This is the Leisure bookshelf.
The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the memories that
These are my young adult bookshelves. Some Harper, Avon Flair, some other stuff. Some R.L. Stein, Fear Park, Fear Street. Some Pinnacle, Horror. Those are my favorite. Some more haunted shelves. And a mess. These are my French horror bookshelves. My gore collection. These are some of my favorite vintage Halloween books. This is my all-time favorite read. I hope you enjoyed the tour. See you soon. Now I want to play a little song for you.
Hello, my name is Jason and I'm from the channel Jason's Weird Reads, and I want to extend big thank you to Merce for asking me to come along on this Halloween journey. What I'm going to do for my segment here is I'm going to show you what me and my family like to do to celebrate Halloween. It's just a small glimpse because every year things change. There's going to be a hayride that we haven't been able to do in the last couple of years because of COVID. But, you know, one day we'll be getting back to it. So the clips I show you of that haunted hayride are from 2019, I believe it is. So So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk about 3 books very quickly, and I'm going to show you just little clips of what we like to do. So here we go. I believe I talked about this first book before on Merce's channel, another Halloween series that she did a couple years ago, but I'm going to discuss it again because it's one of my favorite Halloween collections, and that's Autumn Crow by Cameron Chaney. If you haven't read this yet and you've been watching a lot of BookTube, then you really need to get on it. It's a fantastic collection. Not all stories take place at Halloween. Autumn Crow is a town where Halloween is 365 days a year. Halloween is every day, but you can take it for that. But these stories are all great. Some of them are a little bit on the melancholy side, and some of them are just downright terrifying. I have talked about this book on my own channel a few times. It's Halloween House of Horrors by Mark Allen Gunnels. And if you haven't read this yet, then you're in for a treat, because it is a collection of short stories that is almost 300 pages long. And there are quite a few short stories in here. Some of these are my absolute favorite. One thing that Mark Allen Gunnels does really well is he is able to mix in very vicious storylines with other stories that are somewhat sentimental, and they mix very well together. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, especially there's some of my favorite Halloween stories are in this collection. And the third and final book I'm going to talk about is one I haven't read yet, but I'm hoping to read this year. It's The October Country by Ray Bradbury. One of the quotes I put on here is from here. And I love Ray Bradbury, as most people do. And this one and Halloween Tree are both ones that somehow slipped my reading radar. I don't know how that is, but I'm going to try to fix that this year. I've been told that I need to read this collection because, well, it's the October Country. It's, of course, going to have a lot of Halloween stories in there. I don't know if they're autumnal stories or Halloween stories, but I'm sure there's a mixture of both. That country where it is always turning late in the year. That country where the hills are fog and rivers are mists. Where noons go quickly, dusks and twilights linger, and midnights stay. That country composed in main of cellars, subcellars, coal bins, closets, attics, and pantries faced away from the sun. That country whose people are autumn people, thinking only autumn thoughts, whose people passing at night on the empty walks sound like rain.
That was so cool. I'm being filled with Halloween cheer. Give me a chocolate.
But you don't have a stomach.
So, I have a mouth, so I must chew.
Okay. I don't think it's gonna fit.
Try harder.
I'll just break off a piece. It's not fitting easily. How's that? what?
Para.
Oh,
Delicious.
It fell right through you. Like a poop.
Give it to me.
Yeah, no, gross.
You can still eat it. I only took its essence.
I'm good, thanks.
Oh! Hey! Who turned the lights off? Ah, there it is. Welcome. What? Oh, no, you're not interrupting anything. It's all good. My name is Juan, and I host the booktube channel Plagued by Visions. As I understand, Merce has sent you here looking for some spooky Halloween goodness. Rightfully so, she has sent you my way. It's a little known fact, but when the sun goes down, I am actually the keeper of the damned library, sorting through its forbidden knowledge and guarding its most cursed and haunted legends. It's only part-time, so no benefits. Anyway, I have just the right story to share with you. It's a local legend that has haunted these regions of the US-Mexico border for decades and decades. But let me just remember what book the legends are in. Was it this one? Nope, not that one. Here it is. My little Necronomicon, bound in human skin, of course. You just can't miss it. Alright, let me just go ahead and find my page. Here it is. Alright, gather round now, and let me tell you of the legend of La Casa de Piedra, or in English, the house made of stones. Nestled in the Sierra Juarez mountain range of Baja California, Mexico, just south of the US-Mexico border, there is a serpentine road full of treacherous curves that connects the isolated towns and communities scattered throughout the alpine wilderness. The road has been the site of countless accidents, its depths littered with wrecked cars and charred remains. It is said that driving through this highway at night is a sure way of coming across a number of ghostly apparitions, hitching rides or waving their arms for help, trying to find their way home, not knowing they are no longer of this world. Following a dirt trail that takes one deeper into the mountains, you can find what is known as La Casa de Piedra, or the house made of stones. As the name implies, this structure is made entirely of rocks and stones pieced together into a livable home. La Casa de Piedra has become an attraction for curious passers-by given its unusual foundation. However, this seemingly innocent tourist spot houses many mysteries and a bloody, monstrous history. For starters, nobody's really sure who built the house or when or for what purpose. Many locals and historians have given their best guesses, and of course rumors abound about its origins. However, as far as factual accounts are concerned, we only know that the house was built sometime in the 1950s, but it seems to have materialized out of nowhere. But what is known about the house and its uses is a spine-chilling history of human atrocities. The house is known to have been used sometime in the late 50s by the then governor of Baja California, Braulio Maldonado Sandes, as a place to torture and execute journalists, protesters, and anyone who opposed his ideology and governance. The executions were carried out by corrupt police officers who then drove the bodies down along the highway and discarded them in the nearby Laguna Salada desert. In the years following, La Casa de Piedra would become infamous as a spot for drug dealers to hide their merchandise, as well as continue its usage as a torture and execution site. Since the 1980s, the house has remained abandoned and is open for any visitors to freely walk in and marvel at its craggy architecture. However, many visitors and locals claim that, as the sun goes down and darkness completely swallows the desert, one can still hear the pained wails and screams of those who died a torturous death in that house, their final sights having been those stone-gray, unsmiling walls. Whew. Talk about the heebie-jeebies, huh? It's enough to have you falling stone cold to the ground in shock. Well, my beautiful audience, that's all the time we have for today. Don't worry, you can always find me here, except when I evanesce into the nothingness of the night. Speaking of which, peace.
Hey all you fellow freaks and geeks, I'm Kelsey from the channel Slime and Slashers, where we talk about everything 90s nostalgia, books, all things horror, and beyond. I just want to thank Murs for asking me to be a part of this awesome collab. I'm so pumped. So for this video, I have decided to read an excerpt from The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury, and while I'm reading, I will decorate my own Halloween tree over at my parents' house. And I did a whole time lapse so that you don't have to spend a whole hour watching me decorate. It's a little bit faster. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. It's a great excerpt, very beautiful. Thanks again, Murs, really appreciate it. I can't believe you asked me to be involved. I am so beyond ecstatic. Happy Halloween, everybody. Hope to see you over at my channel. Oh look, what's up in that tree? For the tree was hung with a variety of pumpkins of every shape and size, and a number of tints and hues of smoky yellow or bright orange. A pumpkin tree, someone said. No, said Tom. The wind blew among the high branches and tossed their bright burdens softly. A Halloween tree, said Tom. And he was right. The pumpkins on the tree were not mere pumpkins. Each had a face sliced in it. Each face was different. Every eye was a stranger eye. Every nose was a weirder nose. Every mouth smiled hideously in some new way. There must have been 1,000 pumpkins on this tree, hung high and on every branch. 1,000 smiles, 1,000 grimaces, and twice times 1,000 glares and winks and blinks and leerings of fresh-cut eyes. And as the boys watched, a new thing happened. The pumpkins began to come alive. One by one, starting at the bottom of the tree, and the nearest pumpkins, candle took fire within the raw interiors. This one, and then that, and this, and still another, and on up and around, 3 pumpkins here, 7 pumpkins still higher. A dozen clustered beyond, 100, 500, 1,000 pumpkins lit their candles, which is to say, brightened up their faces, showed fire in their square or round or curiously slanted eyes. Flame guttered in their toothed mouths. Sparks leaped out of their ripe-cut ears, and from somewhere 2 voices, 3 or maybe 4 voices whispered and chanted a kind of sing-song or old sea shanty of the sky and time and the earth turning over into sleep. The rain spouts blew spider dust. It's big, it's broad, a voice smoked from the rooftop chimney. It's broad, it's bright, it fills the sky of All Hallows Night. From open windows somewhere cobwebs drifted, the strangest sight you've ever seen, the monster tree on Halloween. The candles flickered and flared. The wind crooned in, the wind crooned out the pumpkin mouths, tuning the song. The leaves have burned to golden red, the grass is brown, the old year dead, but hang the harvest high, oh see! The candle constellations on the Halloween tree. Tom felt his mouth stir like a small mouse wanting to sing. The stars they turn, the candles burn, and the mouse leaves scurry on the cold wind borne. And a mob of smiles shine down on thee from the gourds hung high on the Halloween tree. The smile of the witch and the smile of the cat, the smile of the beast and the smile of the bat, the smile of the reaper taking his fee, all cut in glimmer on the Halloween tree. Smoke seemed to sift from Tom's mouth. Halloween tree. All the boys whispered it. Halloween tree. And then there was silence. And during the silence, the last of the triples and quadruples of All Hallows tree candles were lit in titanic constellations, woven up through the black branches and peeking down through the twigs and crisp leaves. And the tree had now become one vast, substantial smile. And the last of the pumpkins now were lit. The air around the tree was Indian summer breathing warm. The tree exhaled sooty smoke and raw pumpkin smell upon them. Gosh, said Tom.
Okay, are you guys ready? Alright. I just have to light the candles, and then I need to get into the zone. So I need you to shut up and be quiet. So the way this works is I write something on a piece of paper, and one of you can read it aloud, okay? Now say the line with me. We open the gates to friendly spirits to visit us this evening. If you are not friendly, you are not welcome here. Would anyone like to communicate with us? Is anyone there? Does anyone wish to speak to us? What is your name?
Oh my God, it says Peter.
How old are you?
48.
Where are you from?
Mulheim.
How did you die? Why are you still here?
The punishments I have suffered.
What were you punished for?
My blood on the heads of my torturers.
Who tortured you?
I don't like this. Destroyed all my feelings as a human being.
What did you do?
Not only friendly spirits were alive. I just don't know. We can't break the circle.
Who did you kill? Who did you kill?
In a little room above an inn, sleeping, her head facing the window, seized with my left hand.
Whose head?
Strangled her.
I don't have on my throat.
Sharp knife cut her throat.
Oh, you know, you're just like the vampire.
What's that?
Because both of you are just ahead.
Please.
Miss Pumpkin, honestly, let's keep going.
Hello, it's Alex, the Bookubus. Thank you to Merce for inviting me to be a part of her Halloween celebrations on her channel. And I thought, since it's the spooky season, we could take a look at some spooky books. So let's dim the lights and see what we can summon up. The Elementals by Michael McDowell. The Witching by Fritzen Ravenswood. Graveyard Moon by Carol Gorman. Wait and See by Ruby Jean Jensen. Eight Tales of Terror by Edgar Allan Poe. Playmates by Andrew Niederman. The Voice of the Clown by Brenda Brown Canary. Books of Blood, Volume 1 by Clive Barker. Waiting Spirits by Bruce Coville. The Cipher by Kathy Koja. Hellboard by Dana Reed. The Doll by Josh Webster. Trick or Treat by Richie Tankersley Cusick. Well, I would call that a successful summoning of spookiness. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you ever so much for watching, and thank you again to Merce for inviting me to be a part of this. I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween.
Hello, goblins and ghouls. Greetings from Regina's Haunted Library. So I wanted to thank Merce for including me among this esteemed group of horror tubers, and I thought I would share today with you a stroll in a local cemetery that I find such inspiration from, and it's also haunted, which makes it that much more fun. So since today is a lovely, foggy autumn day, I thought we would go for a stroll, and I will tell you a little bit about this fun place to visit. So let's cut to it right now. So as you approach the church, you see this beautiful scrolled iron gate with roses woven throughout the fence posts. This church was established in 1712. It was actually abandoned during the Revolutionary War as the tide turned against the British and used as a stable. Later in the 1800s it was rebuilt, and this is the building you see today. And you can see it's a beautiful example of Gothic Revival architecture. I've noticed just as I walk around that many of the graves have the Masonic symbol. There is a Masonic temple close by, and of course many of the early founding fathers were Masons. I love this beautiful stone. They calmly sleep. I wonder if they do. This is a lovely statue. I love looking at all the different names on the gravestones. Like this one. This is like a perfect name for a vampire. All due respect. Some of the stones have beautiful scroll work in them and some lovely obelisks as we pass through. I think the crumbling aspect of the graveyards adds to its beauty. I'm always curious about those little tables. Go Eagles! To me, that kind of destroys the aesthetic. All right, here's a mausoleum by the Johnson family that is worthy of Barnabas Collins. I wonder if a vampire will show up if I knock on the door. Anyone home? There are these different weird pyramids that were popular, this pyramid style. I love these little lambs. You see these in child's graves a lot. Finger pointing toward heaven, I assume. Here's the haunted place. This is known as the witch's chair. If you sit in the witch's chair at midnight on Halloween night, you supposedly feel the witch's arms wrap around you. I've never tried it. Maybe this Halloween I will try it. Been a little scared, but maybe it's time that I give it a go. One thing I love about graveyards are the stories they tell, even if I'm reading the story into it, like this towering obelisk of a successful businessman surrounded by the infant children that didn't quite make it to adulthood. You see many of these little tiny graves. It really makes me wonder about this family and all the souls contained within these iron gates. Well, I hope you enjoyed your tour of the St. James Cemetery, and I hope you have a lovely Halloween season.
By the fire and the stones, by the water and the air, I curse mine enemies. I curse you forever.
There you are. You're late. And if you're going to continue to apprentice with me, you need to learn to be on time. Yes. I did ask you to check on poor old Mr. Jenkins to make sure he was still in his grave while you were on the way over. So I guess I can let this one slide, just this once. But at least you're here for cakes and ale. Why, the cakes that we witches eat after a night of hexing. You still have so much to learn. But for now, let's go make those cakes. Pumpkin mini spice cakes. These are sure to replenish any witch's dark heart. Isn't Samhain the most wonderful time of year, when the moon is full and the veil is thin, when magic and mischief and mayhem can begin? Ghosts and goblins and ghoulies can be seen. And from my cauldron to yours, I'm wishing you a happy Halloween.
Good evening, ghoulies and ghosties and long-leggedy beasties. This is Alex with Bookworm of The Damned, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank Harpies in the Trees for including me with this very fun project that she has put together. When she came to me regarding this, I was really ecstatic because not only was I being included among all of these very talented booktubers, but Halloween is one of my favorite holidays, so I am totally in my element. Now, with this video, I'm wanting to share with you what would be my favorite Halloween story of all time, and also a drink that I enjoy during this time of year, which, if you're of legal drinking age, you should have no problem being able to make this tasty but potent beverage. To start with, I would like to talk about The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving, which, of course, this is the infamous story about the new schoolmaster who had been hunted down late one Halloween night by the Headless Horseman. Now, even though I had grown up watching the Disney adaptation as well as the Shelley Duvall's Tall Tale presentation, last year was the first time that I actually sat down and read this for Halloween, and I loved every single minute of it. But what really surprised me was, with caricatures and humor aside, the Disney adaptation was pretty spot on with this story. And one thing that I really admired about the cartoon was it gave geographic nods to other legends like the church and the graveyard, which you don't know the lore behind those locations unless you read this. Also, I really loved how Irving went beyond his story of the Headless Horseman and took time to describe the location as well as some of the other haunted history of the land. And I really did enjoy the characters because by the time I finished this, I honestly didn't know who to feel sorry for because everyone just felt like they were human. Which, speaking of characters, I wholeheartedly believe that the Headless Horseman is perhaps the scariest ghost ever brought to page. So if you're looking for something that is full of ghostly lore and is just a good old-fashioned read for the season, I do highly recommend that you read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow for Halloween. With that said, it's time for us to get our drink on, which this is a beverage that I normally enjoy around this time of year, and to be honest, I think it's something that Brom Bones would drink as well. First off, gather up all of your ingredients. You will need a shot glass, a chilled beer mug, a cocktail spoon, a glass for mixing, and a tablespoon. You will also need light brown sugar, bourbon, pumpkin pie spice, and 2 bottles of Sam Adams Oktoberfest. After you have gathered everything, pour both bottles of beer into the chilled mug. Then, in your mixing glass, measure 2 shots of bourbon, add a tablespoon of brown sugar, and 2 dashes of pumpkin pie spice. Give that a good stir and add it to your beer. After it has had the opportunity to sit, gently stir together and enjoy. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed my contribution, and I would just like to say thank you once again to Harpies in the Trees for including me with this, and for whoever is out there watching, I hope you have a safe and happy Halloween.
Oh, that was so much fun. Why don't we have Halloween trees and witchy cakes?
Seeing that cemetery made me feel homesick. Sweet decay, healing rot.
Well, we've watched them all, but I wonder, what's a surprise?
Maybe it's filled with cemetery dirt and worms.
Maybe it's filled with cakes.
Maybe it's...
Ooh.